That's very
Wow.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Hello, Sher. Brilliant. I'm glad
Hi.
I didn't hear the sound, so I hope you didn't wait long there.
No, I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I sent you a message and I didn't hear back from you. I had to take Lou out first and then I thought, well, I'll hop on, but they haven't called me yet to tell me my car is ready, so I'm gonna kind of watch for that too. Okay. Um, so yeah, they're
how
just
is Lou?
she's good actually.
Oh,
She's
brilliant.
she's kind of chilling out and doing her thing now.
Oh,
Um,
brilliant.
yeah, so she enjoys going outside quite a bit. So we take her out as much as she would like to go.
Excellent.
We
Excellent.
don't
Excellent.
indulge that behavior, but at the same time, you know, we're paying attention to what her habits are,
Yeah.
what her
Yeah.
patterns are, which is nice. So
What a gift. What a gift. What a gift. What a gift, right?
yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because that paying attention to somebody else's habits, it really kind of forces you to pay attention to what you're doing too.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And how those balance and how they fit together and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of I hadn't thought about that yet either. So I'm gonna take a note of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for letting me hop on now. Is this a convenient time or inconvenient?
Oh yeah. No, perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Okay.
Perfect timing. Yeah. No, right. Very good. Right, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
I was just gonna ask, what are you two, what, is there a topic that you are discussing that I interrupted or,
Always.
You didn't
Always.
interrupt at all.
Always.
I was sharing about the pink mimosa being different with mimosa flower, and how the pink mimosa is very significant in my life, especially the tree. So this is what I was sharing, and so said, "Oh, I never had this idea that I was just assuming that the mimosa would be just a color different flower, but no, it's an entirely different flower. So pink mimosa is different than mimosa flower.
so, okay, so I see the flower. It's kind of got like the little spikies on it. Yes?
They are like silk, completely like silk.
Okay.
It's so soft and gentle. They looks like that spiky, that yes, they are very erect, but no, they are exactly like silk.
Okay. I'm looking at
Very gentle, very soft, and very beautiful.
okay. I was just reading about it really quickly here. It said they're a companion to bees and other pollinators. Sometimes used as an ornamental tree. Is it predominant where you live?
Yes, but okay, because it's an India Pakistan native tree, and the Indian name is Lajvanti, which I really love. That Laj means uh, shy. I don't know the shy or the other word. It's not shame, it's a shyness. And Lajvanti means someone who is very delicate, very feminine. The purest feminine term you can use is Lajvanti. So this is what the name is, and I love that name. In Urdu, they just call it like chui mui, which is like okay, touch me not kind of thing. The translation of that,
Yeah.
because its leaves just get closed by just a slightest touch. So this is very beautiful. For me, it has a personal significance because it was outside our home. Our home in my childhood was second to the corner one. So the corner of that street, which we were just second, which has a rain spillover, and then on that, with a small bridge kind of a thing, at the corner of that tree was there, and I just love that tree. And I do remember that standing there with Baba, because of that spillover had some fish inside that. I was holding his hand. So for me, that tree shade is a symbolism of my father being with me and holding my hand. So it
Oh,
has, yes, so that's why it has. And of course, the flower was like, for me, they were like fairies in my childhood.
yes, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so
I
because
can see that.
I feel that, oh, that they are fairies just on top of that tree. So I always try to, but that tree was high. I could never get the flower. Just picking the flower. Yes, there were
Yeah.
many on the floor, like on the ground, I can pick. Uh, but the fresh one from the tree, never get a chance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's very magical for me.
Well, I wonder why they consider it to be an invasive tree. I mean, I see here that they grow them in Texas, Arizona, you know, I mean, a few here in the United States, but they're not indigenous to the United States, correct?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that
They're
they,
invasive, then they wouldn't be indigenous, yes.
okay, yeah, so I just, that's really, well, okay, yep, hold on. I'll call you, I'll get right back on.
Mhm.
Oh. All good, all good, all good.
Really? Are you guys there?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know why the Zoom wouldn't hang up and I couldn't get the phone call muted. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
No, it was a
yeah.
salesman calling from the place that I took my car in to be serviced. And it's like, no, I'm not interested in an upgrade.
Yeah,
You
No,
know,
they gotta try.
calling
They gotta.
calling to sell me a new car. And I'm like, no, I just want this one fixed.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They
Okay,
gotta try.
so,
You can't blame them for trying, I guess, right?
you know, I suppose everybody's got to make a living, but that's a first. I've never had that happen to me before.
Yeah.
People must really be hurting for some money these days, huh? So,
Some, I guess. Well, people always, I don't think it's that they're hurting for the money. Actually, more than it is, they've just been online and like they've seen all these tips and tricks for doing this, and they learn, and then they update and do things which they could have done before, but it's never thought to do. So it's quite fascinating. Yeah, they just updated. Yeah.
well, I don't know. To me, it's kind of interesting. It's like, why would you bring a car in for service if you're gonna? I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you heard him or not, but he was saying that, well, yeah, we've got your car here. You know, yes, you're getting it serviced, but didn't know if it's because you didn't want the car anymore, or it's like, no, really, I do want my car.
Wow.
I was like, no, don't take it from me. I
Really?
kind of need it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
whatever.
maybe they got
Anyway.
the wrong impression there somewhere.
Somewhere, I don't know, unless that's just something that they figured, like you said, it's, you know, they thought it was a good idea to do, to just reach out and see if
Oh,
people want to
yeah.
upgrade. It's like, no, I don't know how.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm perfectly happy with my car. This is the first time I've had to have it serviced. So,
Oh.
and that is only because there's a part on it that was recalled, and I didn't think too much of it, and the letter was good for 10 years. Well, then the car started doing exactly what they said it was going to do in this recall letter. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. The only reason why it's dangerous to your and should be dangerous at a high speed and your car just shuts off. Yeah, that could be kind of dangerous. So
Yeah, that's no good at all.
Yeah, no, so it's like, well, okay, the check engine light's on, it's staying on, the car is not acting right, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take it in, and my uncle took a look at it too, and he's like, yep, take it in, so,
Yeah. So this is getting taken care of as part of a recall then.
yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's fascinating. When I grew up, and I imagine there where you are at Beena, recalls are not a thing, but they certainly are here in America. It happens all the time. They have a recall, and you either take your car back, get a whole new one, or they fix whatever's wrong with it. They just take care of this, but it happens on a regular basis.
Yeah.
When I grew up, not a single time ever. The word recall is not part of anybody's, this memory is not part of anybody's vocabulary in this sense. Quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, I think that has to do with just taking care of, I would have to say anyways, the integrity of the business.
Well, and
Because,
lawsuits. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to put out a faulty product, and you discover that it's faulty, then
Right.
me, it's the responsibility of the company that makes it to make it right.
Yeah.
To- and there's sometimes when, of course, you're going to buy a car and things are going to wear down, break down. But when they do a recall, there is a definite fault with the product.
Right.
And this one's called an emissions control valve or something, but it has to do with the gas and air mixture.
Wow. Interesting.
It
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't.
certainly the big dealness of recalls in America is because of lawsuits. That's how they came about in the first place. Other places, it's just like, well, they just don't say anything, and it's just kind of tough luck, and everybody sort of accepts that the car you buy is not always going to be perfect. And fascinating.
Well, no, we don't. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for safety. If I'm going to pay $20,000 for a vehicle, I expect it's
Right. I mean, I agree from an ethical point of view, it's absolutely appropriate, but just saying different cultures in different parts of the world, and the expectations as well. People buy it with the understanding that, well, your car may have a very real serious problem that you don't know about. That's just how they come sometimes. It's just acceptance of what they shouldn't necessarily accept. It's quite fascinating. It's quite fascinating indeed.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I didn't have a whole lot going on today, just that. I'd just been kind of trying to get through the last couple of days and make CJ's arrangements for, getting his arm taken care of. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting how.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say, it's very interesting how most people don't understand the term fracture. And they think of fracture as a break. No, fracture is a crack, not a break. So it's very different. So, yes, you don't want to be using the arm and putting strain and stress on it, but it's not a break where you need to keep it completely immobile. It's two different things. Yeah.
Well, on his growth plate, he has to. The two bones that run up the inside of the arm towards the elbow. Anyway, they jammed into this same place where it was broke before.
When he has complications. I got you.
Yeah. So what happened is when he fell, he put his hands, and it jammed the bones right up into the elbow. So anyway, now there's a fracture in that elbow there, and then the fat pad is pushed up, and so they went ahead and wrapped it really tight and made it immobile. And he goes to see his doctor this week for a follow-up, and then he'll see the orthopedic surgeon next week, because the ER is like, this is going to have to get taken care of, because because it was damaged before and it didn't heal properly. This is going to keep happening, so they have to get something done about it. But he can still do his taekwondo. He just can't move that arm.
Right.
So,
Yeah, there's a greater leeway there, which is cool.
Yeah, it was just the most bizarre thing, because it wasn't like super swollen, but it was visibly hurting. We had to sit there forever just trying to get an X-ray. So once they got that done, and then they came back in and told us what was happening, it's like, oh, okay. Here we go.
I think the negative part of the experience at least from a prevention and being more careful. That's sitting for ages in the waiting room. That's part of it. It's very useful, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
He was
don't bloody
pretty
well
bored.
go and be stupid again, because I don't want to be sitting in that freaking waiting room again. It's not a fun experience, right? It's a bit
Yeah,
depressing.
no, he did not enjoy that at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
yeah.
You know, that
Good.
was,
Very good. So,
especially for a fidgety boy. He's
right,
like,
exactly. It's a fantastic positive, So,
yeah,
if you look at it from that perspective, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Perspective
No,
shifting, the message of it.
I couldn't believe how hard I was on myself, thinking, oh my gosh, this is all my
Yeah.
fault. I've been
I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about that very specifically. Yeah, yeah.
with
Keep
that.
going. I said, I want
Oh,
to talk about this, about how you were inappropriately hard on yourself. Yes.
well, I was I was walking the dog. I mean, he's at the skate park, and there's a big park all the way around this skate park, where I could still see him. So I'm walking Lou, and then I turn around and I watch CJ, and he's getting ready to go, what they call drop into the bowl. But he didn't make the drop. Instead, he fell, and when he fell, because he stuttered basically on his step. So when he fell, he put his hand out, and he came over to me about 15 minutes later, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm done." Okay. And then I said, "So you okay? What about your fall?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just my wrist hurts." Um, okay. Well, so I looked at his wrist, and there was no anything. But then when we got into the doctor's office or to the hospital, and they were telling me that, yep, there's an issue here, and it looks fractured and all this other stuff. Then I started feeling like, okay, had I insisted, because I was thinking this was bad boundaries on my part, because I didn't want to argue with him. I just didn't have the energy to argue with him. And I knew he would have put up one for saying, no, you're not going to go skating unless you have your gear, unless you have your equipment, which means knee, elbow pads, wrist pads, those kinds of things, right?
Right. Yeah,
And so then he told me, he's like, well, I thought about bringing it, but I just didn't want it. He goes, because I wanted to look cool like the other kids do, because nobody trusts me. So none of those kids there had equipment on.
yeah.
None of them.
Yeah.
Not one single kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Peer pressure. It's all about coolness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to be the odd man out, and he wanted to look
Right.
cool. And so he didn't.
Right.
Now, I could have insisted and said, if you don't, you're not going. But I'm like, okay, whatever, you're going to learn. And boy, did he ever. He learned, right?
So the setup is perfect. You are helped by the universe.
Yeah.
So you see the price of cool. You can be cool and be a dumbass and an idiot, or you can be sensible and be cool. Because the only way to really be cool is not to care about coolness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
And so as the hours were ticking on, and I'm seeing that he is definitely uncomfortable, I just really started thinking about, how this could have been prevented. Where was my responsibility in this? And then, of course, he is in my care. As a child, I'm supposed to be the responsible one. So I was questioning myself. It's like, what were my choices then, and why did I choose what I chose? And it's like, doesn't matter, you were just irresponsible. And oh my goodness, that inner critic was a bitch. I mean, she was just being a bitch to me.
Yeah, but wonderful. Good
So
learning.
I really had a lot to think about. Well, of course, the next day I calmed it down, but I just thought, wow, how powerful that voice is, that can really pull you down into those holes and just kind of stomp on you unnecessarily, and I'm glad that I was aware of it. Most times I would have just accepted it and just went, yep, you're right. You were just being a dumb person. You were more interested in the dog than making sure that, the kid was taken care of, which wasn't true.
No.
I was taking care of Lou in the moment because she needed to go walking. She's got a lot of energy. So I was taking care of that. I knew CJ could take care of himself. I just didn't figure that he would you know, fall and jam his arm again. So, you know, it's one of those things. And then he didn't blame me, of course, you know, he wasn't really blaming himself. He's just like, well, you know, it just happened. But he did understand that why he did it. He admitted that he did it because he wanted to be cool.
Right. And that's a high price to pay. And
Yeah.
you know, the sad part of it is that you aren't even really cool. It's just a perception. You know,
Yeah.
without your gear, you're just another kid. But with your gear and not caring what other people think, that actually makes you cool. The trick is
Yeah.
to not care. The trick is to not care.
Yeah.
But I want to bring up a bigger point, though. The point about assuming responsibility that's not ours. All right, and being real, right? So realism and being realistic here. You cannot possibly prevent your child from everything, right?
Right.
This would put your child in a bubble, and this would be terrible for the child. I mean, absolutely horrible. So
Extremely.
yeah, so no matter how much you're watching a child, you could have been sitting there watching him skateboard. He could have had all of his gear on, and he could still get injured. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, we have to understand that this is part of life, and that just it is what it is. You are not responsible for everything. Furthermore, the point that I felt is that people who have uh, goodness that goes above and beyond the normal helpings of goodness, some people tend to take on responsibility for the whole world,
Yes.
and this is not appropriate, right? So you have to be careful of that, right? You
Yeah.
aren't
But
responsible for the
I've done
world.
that.
Yeah. So, you know, in this extension that somehow it's my fault, this also goes back, of course, to your childhood and your early adulthood,
Yes.
where you were gaslighted and conditioned to specifically see things as your fault. And that's also a hangover thing. So this is a very, very powerful thing to come up as a gift, as a reminder to say, wow, let me look at the underlying logic here. Hell no, sorry, that's just conditioned nonsense. You know, this has got nothing to do with me or, you know, what's up? No, you're a good, very good. By go and in this case, it perfect. And
Yes.
his injury is of doing stupid for the wrong reason. Stupid things in being on the skateboard, stupid things in terms of the point talking about, like he was camera, then in look.
Right.
That's kind of a red flag right there, which means you know you're still looking at approval and outside stuff more than yourself and inside and stuff like this, right?
Right.
So of that are huge. Of course, this being this is huge, and you know something that really it's so this is
Much
great,
so.
great learning. So
Okay.
you were being a parent if it's not wasn't consciously and deliberately because you didn't know oppression and that
Right.
this was the end result. So you know, trust your sensibilities.
Yeah, I knew that it was a from when, you know, when I was a kid. But you know, it's interesting, you know, and when you excuse me just a second.
No
What?
problem.
No, you mm-mm, no.
Second, we're
Maybe?
done.
Yeah,
Whatever it
you
is, can wait.
can, so we're done. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. If I don't tell him.
Because otherwise, I become complicit in his behavior by acknowledging it. And it is like if you're going to appropriately interrupts and you're a good trainer, that is okay, even when appropriate. So we
Oh,
have to be very careful pattern and implications, right?
that is so true, and I've been watching that all weekend long. Um, you know, there's things like out that she gets certain things, you know. So she's, well, I'm going to keep doing those certain things so I can get more treats. It's like, no, there's a limit to this. The same thing
Exactly.
with going outside.
Exactly.
If I let her out every single time she points at the door, then no, because every time she points at the door, she doesn't always have to go. She just wants to go
Correct.
outside and be nosy.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Okay,
I
you
don't
go.
have time right now,
Implications.
Lou. You're gonna have to wait. So
Right,
I had to
right.
remind CJ that I cannot indulge her every single request, just like I can't indulge every request of yours.
Exactly. And you don't want to train her to be indulgent either. So,
No.
somebody might say, yeah, well, it's nice to indulge her. No, it's not. It's actually
Mm,
cruel.
it
Yeah,
is. It
yeah.
is because then
So
then
same
you not attached maybe issue of oh my
wonderful.
gosh, so
Wow.
I can move the house and curious and come upstairs and see if I'm up there and what I'm doing and okay, that's cool. Otherwise, she does her own thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, when you look at Lou in the greater context here, right? The
mhm.
key dictionary of power conceptions here are implication and consequence combined with pattern, right? Pattern and rhythm and expectations. So this is huge, and you have to basically extrapolate some when interacting to say, if I do this, what pattern am I setting up, right?
Ah,
What expectations am I setting up through association? Yes, what are the implications, in other words, of this association? Like in the case with CJ interrupting you, if you give him, I think, the implied association that it's okay to interrupt when it's not, right? So when we become cognizant of those, our whole life changes. Paying attention to implication is probably one of the quickest ways to wisdom and insight and discernment and understanding.
okay, hold on a second, because that's a big one. That's what I've
Oh,
been doing this weekend, but
yeah,
I just wasn't aware, yes, I was aware of, wasn't the word implication.
right,
I
right.
was thinking more indulgent, that I don't want to indulge negative behaviors, but
Correct,
positive
correct,
ones.
correct,
Okay,
correct. Exactly. But it's all about the implications, right?
yes,
So the person or the being in question, they don't see it as indulgence. That's why it's more about association and implications, right?
okay,
And also, they're not going to see the implications as negative. They'll see it as a positive, but because they're not looking long term. And that's why this is such a big deal. We aren't all geared towards and trained in looking at implications. So, this is the point that you see the implications. Like in the case of Lou, to her, she doesn't see this as a negative implication. Every time I want to go out, well, I want to go out, and what I want is good. And it's a very valid mindset to have. But, she's not living alone. So, but because she's not thinking in the greater context or not able to necessarily, she has to learn.
okay,
And this is just it. And dogs learn very quickly. They quite happily accept things as right when it's cued that way, right?
yeah,
They are geared. Right, right. I mean, here we get some positive usage for understanding hierarchy. Dogs are genetically designed to accept hierarchy. And what the
mm-hmm,
alpha says is right. End of story, whether I like it or not. And they accept it and they just shift. I wanted it. Now alpha says no, and I want what alpha wants. And that's
yeah,
important.
yeah,
So when you are doing these implications, when she understands that her happiness comes from doing what you want, not what she wants, then you've succeeded, right?
okay,
Yeah,
okay, I get
yeah.
that.
Shift, big shift, big shift. Yeah.
You know what I read about alphas and about training your dogs, and I don't know why I came across this, but um, how people come to a front door after you've taken the dog out, or you're getting into your house and the dog is with you. I've read multiple places, never let the dog in the door first, because only the alphas enter first.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, all these years here, I've been teaching my dog that they're in charge, and here I am in the house trying to make me in charge. No,
Yeah.
I'm signaling to them by letting them in the house first that
Yeah.
nope, you're the alpha,
Right.
because
Right.
they always lead.
Right.
And it's
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting because I don't know who trained her or what happened, but um, apparently somewhere along the line she learned that she was not top dog, and she will sit and wait for me to go in the door first before she comes
Interesting.
in. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting. Now, it all depends how it's done. If you say go in, now you're giving an instruction, to go
Yeah.
in. That's very different. Like, if the house is unsafe, now
Yeah.
you still alpha. See, so
Okay.
it's just it's important. I don't care for superiority in general, and
Mm-mm.
even when I'm dealing with dogs, I don't particularly want to be applying it. However, it is necessary because otherwise, this is the underlying psychology of the dog, and it's important for their happiness. Dogs who think they
Yeah.
are alpha, they generally miserable because, of course, it doesn't work. And then when they are indulged, everybody's miserable, not just the dog. Yeah.
Oh
So
my
it
goodness.
confuses them no end, and it causes
Mm.
them all sorts of trauma when they actually are the alpha. It doesn't work because almost
Right.
never are the people totally subservient. It's not possible, right? But then you get
Right.
like Hunter, it's all confused. So it's very important, very important. So it's a
Yeah.
good lesson for inappropriate application of goodness. We want to be nice, but sometimes that niceness causes more problems than actually what you think it's doing. So
You
you're
know, I
actually
think with
being not nice. You're being nice.
with Hunter in his case, he apparently he came from a rescue shelter when I got him.
Mm.
Um, however, I think that they probably needed to have him acclimated a little bit better before they put him up for adoption
Wow.
because he came from a hoarder's home and he never left that apartment. From what I understand in his history, he was kept indoors all the time, and that's where he pottied all the time, was
Yeah.
indoors only. He never, up until they got him to the shelter. Ooh, that's a big loss. Until they got him to the shelter, he'd never been on grass. He just hadn't been outside.
Wow.
So it was really, there
Wow.
was a lot of education that we
Yeah.
needed to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I wasn't quite fully aware of his entire story until several months after I had him.
Wow.
Um, because he bit a couple of people, and it's like, tell me his story because I've never had a dog that bit like this before, and I don't know if I need to surrender him.
Yeah.
Which throughout the rest of his 4 years with us, he did bite other people.
डॉक्टर
You
शहबाज
know,
गिल और सलीम साफी साहब के दरमियान कल Beena. There we go. TV coming through
yeah,
loud
but through the
there.
rest
When
of
there's
his
the
years,
voice, it picks it up.
he did bite pretty frequently. He
Yeah.
never the skin, thank goodness, but still, the fact
Yeah.
remained that he was
Yeah.
pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, we're pretty happy with her. We've been working
Oh,
with her and
yeah.
being super observant. Um,
Wonderful.
and
Wonderful. What a
CJ is
gift.
finally he starts school. Is it next week? Yeah, I think it's next week.
Right.
Let me look at the calendar. Yeah, next week.
Yeah. So make CJ aware also of implications and associations and how
Okay.
you set up patterns and how you've got to think ahead. Because if he starts to really think about implications, associations and patterns and extrapolation, right? Thinking ahead, he's going to
Mhm.
start applying this to himself as well and to others around him, and he's going to see this. And when you start to observe implications, it changes your whole world. Changes your whole world. You
Okay.
suddenly get to be a lot smarter, just like that, all in one go. It's an incredible thing. Incredible thing.
Okay. When you're observing implications, you said things will just change, or you see that? No.
Yeah, well, yeah, things will change because you're going to see the moreness of the world and you're going to go,
Okay.
oh, wow, wow, wow.
Okay.
Suddenly you're going to be on this path to wisdom, and understanding, discernment, awareness. It's all implications through implications. And we are geniuses at implications, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because that's how we survived.
Yeah.
When the snake rears up, it's not rearing up because it wants to, just have a better look at you. No, the implication is it's getting ready to strike and to bite you, and then you jump away.
Yep.
So the action is not necessarily threatening in and of itself, because other time the snake may be rearing up to get a better look, right? And so
Okay.
so we understand implications. That rustle in the bush. By implication, it could be the lion hiding there, or it could be a bird. So we pay attention to implications, and we
Yep.
really understand a lot of things that are implications. Usually they're connected to survival things, but we can take that same skill and apply it to our general around us. Like in this case, the implications of letting Lou out every time she's at the door. You
Right.
training her to be in, right? So so always there's implications to everything, and when we start paying attention to them, we know more. It's a direct mechanism for accessing moreness. Yes.
Yes, and it also, I'm just kind of thinking ahead here or backward, one of the two. Paying attention to implications personally as part of, that's part of mindfulness.
Absolutely. Exactly.
But at that same time, then I can almost catch ahead of time. I wonder if I could catch ahead of time or basically stop my inner critic from barking at me.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Because part of implications is also extrapolation, right?
Okay.
It's inherently there because look, when you say Lou going out, and this is causing a problem. How do you know it's causing a problem? Well, because you've extrapolated into the future. You're taking
Okay.
current behavior and you extrapolate, right? When you see those sales graphs and you see the line in red and then it stops at today's date and then you see dot, 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 and it's continuing. That dot, dot, dot is the extrapolation. You're projecting current pattern into future, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing with Lou now. You're saying, okay, if we indulge her, we're going to have this, and if you extrapolate this, she's always going to get away with whatever she wants, and
Okay.
this is not cool. So because again, she might not want to go outside to pee after a while. She might want to just do it indoors, and then you
Right.
got that problem again. So
Okay.
this is a big deal. This is a big deal, right? Because to the dog, the floor is not a floor; it's just a surface. So floor to you, right? What's the difference to the dog between the carpet and grass?
Texture.
They're very similar in textures. My point,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
both coverings, they're
You're so
absorbent
cool.
coverings, and they're ideal to be on. No different.
Yeah.
So these things have meaning to you, not to them. They have to be trained to adopt your meanings, and they don't see it once the training is there. Oh, now I understand what carpet is. No, I understand that you don't want me to pee on the carpet. Whether it makes sense or not, that's not part of the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
it does make sense that you don't want it because you're the alpha and I must listen to the alpha. But if you're not the alpha, then you got problems, right? Because they don't, they have this in their DNA not to listen to the one who's not the alpha. It's not your job to be telling me what to do. So, yeah, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting this. So, yeah, dog psychology is very useful to understand. Very, very useful. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I would encourage CJ to read some dog training books, like something, or to watch that Cesar Milan program,
Mm-hmm.
the
I
dog
know
whisperer,
that.
right?
Yeah, I do like him. I
Yeah,
do like
he's
him.
great. And he explains what's going on. And I like that. And also, I didn't watch all of his shows, but enough to see that how he's explaining and coming to this. He's not advocating superiority in humans,
Right.
but he is advocating you understand this hierarchy and alpha with your dog, right? And that's a very important distinction. Yes. So
Yeah.
if you especially watch that to say, look, this is appropriate with dogs, but not humans. And we also, it allows you to see the superiority paradigm and understand this and how things like peer pressure can really be used against you in a profound way to manipulate. It is one of the reasons why it is such a terrible thing, because at some point somebody is going to manipulate you with it. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that concerned me about that whole peer pressure thing, and I'm hoping he learned from that. Honestly, because this is let me be specific how he shared with me what happened. He said he felt confident about dropping down into the bowl. Okay, because I've seen him do it before. So he's like, I felt confident for doing that. He goes, but I saw Sammy. Now Sammy is he's not related to him, but my my uncle's wife, it would be her nephew or her grandnephew. But anyways, Sammy is somebody to our family by marriage only. Anyway, he's CJ's age and he's he also is being raised by his grandmother and grandfather, but he's got as CJ put it, he's concerned for his mental health. He's concerned for
Wow.
Sammy's mental health. Okay.
Ah,
So anyways, he thought that he saw their car pull up to the skate park when he was just getting ready to drop down into the bowl. And he said, because Sammy bullies him, he's like, I wanted Sammy to see that I'm not afraid and that I could do this. He goes,
yeah.
so I got distracted and I wanted to look cool. And that's when he fell.
Yeah.
That's when
Wow.
he
What
fell
a
in.
wonderful lesson. What a wonderful lesson. So it's
I
got things
I
in
was
peer
reading,
pressure, looking cool, inappropriate helping, inappropriate
yeah,
application of goodness, all sorts of things. Fantastic.
yep. So I let him, he is taking full accountability for all of this, which is really good. And he knows that this is not an excuse for him to get out of his chores. You know, he's still doing the chores that he's expected
Yeah.
to do. You know, he just has to be extra
Now you got to
careful.
do it one-handed. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. Now you have to do it one-handed. And he goes, this is really kind of comical because yesterday he said, you know, it's pretty hard working with just one arm. And I'm like, yes, I know. But you can
Lesson
adapt.
learned. Lesson learned, exactly.
Yeah, it's like you can do this. So I haven't been, there hasn't been any coddling, you know, I'm paying attention to pain. If there's pain, then, you know, yes, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can rest it, you know, you can do whatever. But no, there's no babying, no coddling.
Right.
And there certainly wasn't when he fell. I was like, oh, that one's going to leave a mark. I just didn't know what kind of
Right,
mark.
right. You know, I seen this, especially with toddlers. You see the toddlers are walking around and they fall boom, on their face. And then
Yeah,
some, oh, you poor thing. Ah. And then, you know, you see the kids start to cry. But
yeah,
before that, they were quite fine. And
yeah,
I've even seen this on a regular basis. They'll fall down and they'll look up expectantly. How am I supposed to be reacting here? If they get that, oh, then they start crying. If not, they
yeah,
just get up and move on. It's too
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
You know,
So,
was one of my earliest memories of queuing. That particular memory of the kids looking for the queuing like that. Very powerful.
okay. You know, okay, two things on hierarchy. Yesterday we were watching a show. I don't remember what channel it was, but it had to do with apes, and there was some really startling facts that we learned about apes that really just set CJ and I aside. One, I had no idea that they were carnivorous. No, not carnivorous. That's not the word. Cannibals. There are some of the there's some of the monkeys that are eaten by other types of primates. It's really
Yeah,
scary. I
yeah.
did not know this. I did not know that they were actually no, not carnivorous, cannibals. Um, they will attack entire herds and eat them. They just eat them.
Wow.
I had no idea. I was pretty shocked.
So, Simon, when you say monkeys, this is the American thing of lumping all that family together. You're talking
No,
about primates, the
no,
bigger
no,
ones?
no. The
More?
show was specifically about that. Well, they actually referred to it as apes, but then they
Right,
had
right.
all these different categories, you know, under they
Correct.
had gorillas, orangutans,
Right, right, right,
all these
right.
different
Exactly.
species.
So orangutans, chimpanzees, and there's a couple of others in that group. Those are the primates, which are the larger ones. You know, gorillas form into
Yes,
that primate category as well. So,
right.
so these were primates. Which specific ones? Chimpanzees that were
It was
cannibalistic?
chimpanzees that are cannibalistic. They will actually attack these little itty bitty baby monkeys that, golly, they even within their own tribe, they will each other,
Okay,
which
okay.
is
So when you say monkeys, though, this is what I'm trying to make a clear distinction here, because monkeys are a separate species, right?
yeah,
They're
yeah,
not related to the chimpanzees. They're little
right,
tiny itty bitty things, and there's a whole range of different kinds of
right,
monkeys as well.
yes,
So,
yes.
so that doesn't actually make them cannibalistic because they're not attacking chimpanzees. They weren't attacking little baby chimpanzees, right?
Well, they do attack their babies too. They will kill the babies. They'll
Oh,
eat
that's
the
interesting.
babies.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they
Okay,
will,
well,
and that's really
but
sad.
to attack monkeys doesn't make them cannibalistic for the monkeys. But yes,
Well,
if they're attacking the baby chimpanzees, then it's cannibalistic. Yeah.
okay, but then there's also monkeys. They're beautiful little white furry ones, and they almost like purr instead of They don't chatter or screech. They have this purr, this whistle kind of thing that they
Wow.
do.
Wow.
They will actually attack other monkeys in their clan,
Wow.
and eat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, that's unusual that they will eat them because
Yes.
the chimpanzee wars, this is something that Jane Goodall wrote about. And
Mhm.
nobody wanted to hear this, that the
Yeah.
chimpanzees fight with each other. And they're really terrible fighting. And, they would pick on a straggler and basically come and bully them and all this stuff. It's just total superiority nonsense, right? Run out of muck.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to hear about the chimpanzee wars. She wrote about it and they just squashed it and never. And it's come up now more recently. People are starting to pay more attention to say, look, this idea that war is only a human thing is complete and utter rubbish and nonsense.
Oh
Or
no.
cruelty and meanness. Every
Yep.
human behavior you can find in animals somewhere.
Yeah.
All of
Well,
it. All of it.
Yeah, the same with the silverback gorillas. But here's the interesting thing: the gorillas are primarily vegetarian. They're
Correct.
not meat eaters, per
Right.
se.
Right.
Gorillas.
Yeah.
But it's the chimps and the smaller species that will attack their own young, their own family members even.
Yeah.
It was just wild. So anyways, when we were looking at that, listening to that, that was pretty shocking to us, but both of us got to wondering about hierarchy. And then they explained, then they went to the gorillas. I don't know why they did this, but they used the gorillas to show a very clear establishment of hierarchy in a clan, or a community, where a community is usually just the one male, one silverback male, and then he'll have multiple wives and a whole bunch of kids.
Right. Yeah.
But there's even a hierarchy between the wives.
Correct. Hierarchy goes all the way down. There's hierarchy among the children. Everything is hierarchy. Which is, people say, oh, nature, it's so wonderful. I want to go back to being nature, the lions. You do not want to be a lion. You don't even want to be the king lion, because it's all miserable. You're always watching your back. You're always fighting with somebody. Somebody's always trying to fight with you. It's a miserable existence. Sorry.
Yes.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not.
I thought it was really kind of interesting too, though, because I'm trying to figure out if that's something that CJ is looking to try and establish himself. Well, he's mentioned a couple of times to me, especially since the other day. He really just, I don't know, maybe it's 11-year-old, tween kind of behavior. But he mentioned the other day where he felt like he was still just trying to figure out where he belongs, what his role is in this family. Because there was something that was something inappropriate that the kids next door were doing. And CJ's like, well, I'm going to go over and talk to them. And it's like, no, you're not. That is not that's not your territory. That's not your responsibility. You let their parents handle it. And if it gets out of hand, then I will go over as the adult and let them know, hey, you need to take a look at this. And he's like, well, no, something has to be done. Well, and I finally had to tell him, CJ, you are my responsibility. I'm the adult, and I had to, so I hated doing this, but it's like, we have this establishment here, CJ, where I'm here and you're kind of like right here. You are not right here. Because there's times so when he wants to try and put himself in the role of protector, of, the man of the house. And it's like, no, you're not.
So when we really understand hierarchy, that's when we can get free of it. Because, yes, in certain instances, like in this case, you have a legal responsibility to be in a hierarchical position. That's very different to the hierarchy of superiority and dominance and bullying and all of this stuff, right? So it's very important to understand the nuances of hierarchy and be very useful for him as well.
So, okay, that's really kind of interesting, because I never really thought that there was a difference. I always figured that hierarchy was just hierarchy, and I've tried. I've not tried to make him an equal, but I've always tried to at least give him a voice and a choice. But
Right.
there's sometimes when I have to take that choice from him and
Yeah.
make decisions for him.
Yes.
That would be
Yeah.
because it's age appropriate and safety. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm not going to let him drive.
Right.
It's not legal, and he's probably doesn't have enough bandwidth to drive right now.
Yeah.
Could he do it if he had to for an emergency situation? I'm sure he'd figure it out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Still an automatic car. It's not very hard,
right, right,
stop and go.
right. But I mean, it all comes down to need.
Awareness.
It comes down to need. Yeah. And right now, there is not a need for him to be anything other than the boy he is and trying to grow and find his world. So he's getting himself all confused and wrapped up into, well, I have to be this and this and this. And it's like, who's telling you stuff?
Right. Right.
Who's telling you
Exactly.
this? Because it's not coming from me.
Exactly. And that's where peer pressure is such a powerful thing, because it's so closely linked to should. And
Okay.
should is very closely linked again to superiority paradigm.
Okay.
This
And
is
then,
the principal tool of getting things done in the superiority paradigm. You should look at Lou. She's genetically programmed, or at least by now, developed, engineered, however you want to say, it's come about genetically, that it's in her genetics that she should listen to you. Yeah. Now, as humans, we have some of that because, most of us were, people of their past lives and always remember themselves as Cleopatra. No, I got news for you. You were more likely the peasant or the slave, right? No, everybody couldn't be Cleopatra. Sorry. But this is just, to understand that as humans, though, we don't have that direct genetic need, and we can set free from this. And then we can get sophisticated when it comes to hierarchy and superiority, because you can ask, for instance, what is the difference between a true leader and a dictator?
a dictator tells, and to me, a dictator tells, a leader tells and commands, and a leader offers choices.
Exactly, and shares. Now, sometimes a leader has to make a choice on everybody's behalf. There's not time to consult everybody and hear their opinions and then make the decision. Or so they have to just jump. Okay, I'm the leader. I got to make this end of story. Or when it is there, they go and they listen to everybody, but they're listening to them as input, not as you making the decision. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to put it all together and make the decision.
Okay.
Right. So a different logic. So I'm paying attention to your perspective, but at the end of the day, it's my decision, and my decision making essentially trumps yours. That's why I'm the leader. Right now, in places like Nobilia, where they switch the leadership all the time, you get put in a position of leadership. Basically, you get selected at random, and everybody gets a chance at it. I know that in this field, I actually might have more experience than you. Yes. But you've been put in that position, and fine, I trust your judgment. If you don't make the absolute most wonderful decisions, who cares? You aren't going to make stupid and bad decisions, so it doesn't matter. And I'm quite happy to say, so what? Let's say when it comes to deciding where the gardens are and how to set them up, who cares? It doesn't really matter that it's the absolute best decision, as long as it's not a bad decision. And everybody's got some sensibility, they're not going to make bad decisions. And of course, if it's a critical thing, they will check with people who've got expertise. So now you've got a different type of an hierarchy, which is the hierarchy of skill, of expertise, of sensibility. And this isn't a better or worse. It's simply an acknowledgement of difference. And that's a very different hierarchy. Yes?
Okay.
That's a non-stressful hierarchy when we acknowledge difference for what it is. You have sewing skills that I don't have. If I need to sew something, yes, I'll try and figure it out myself. But when I can't anymore, I'll say, hey, Sher, can you help me out on this? And you'll show me and teach me, and I'll learn from you. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yeah. Now, this is acknowledgement of moreness. But still, you've got more on this than me. That's acknowledging hierarchy, but there's nothing negative about it whatsoever. So when we really understand this and start to shift that appreciation and celebration of difference, hierarchy becomes our friend, not our enemy. Yes? Because I want to hang out with people that know more than me.
Okay. the differences and skills of others. Okay, that now makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
Why?
not just skills, but understanding, awareness, insight, all sorts of things, right? But
Right.
it's just simply we are acknowledging moreness where it exists. End of story. It's not
Okay.
a hierarchy of superiority. No, it's a
Right.
hierarchy of difference. It's a very, very different understanding. The mood, the vibe, everything is different. Beena, you've been quiet. You've been quiet. Beena was engaged in a project, so that's why I haven't
Was
been giving.
she? What's
Yeah,
what's her
yeah,
project?
yeah.
Oh, I
Uh,
was just writing my full moon text.
Your what?
So my full moon text, you know that the post I do make on full and
Oh,
new
okay.
moon. So the
Okay. Yep.
full
Yep.
moon is coming in Aquarius, which is going to be a really intense one. So it's a bit tricky one for me this time because a lot of challenges, a lot of things will stir up, a bit chaotic situation, which is of course eventually going to be fruitful and beneficial, but to adapt the chaos is not easy. So but I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but also I cannot just hide this, so it is what it
yeah.
is.
So you
You
have
um,
know,
some diplomacy
it's
that you got to
interesting.
apply, you know?
Well, I was gonna say, to me, it's really interesting, being able to deal with chaos.
mhm.
Sometimes we become experts at it. We become more of an expert at dealing with chaos than we
Ah,
do dealing with peace in our lives. And peace
yes,
can
yes,
feel like
yes,
chaos to me.
yes, yes.
Um,
Mhm.
We have to be careful
yes,
of
yes,
getting acclimatized to chaos.
yeah. Oh, I
Right?
was for
And some
pretty much
people,
all my life.
yeah,
So,
and some BMNs thrive on it, by the way,
hmm and then
because
trying
there's a to
trying
chaos.
to find and it was very, very, very difficult for me to meditate. It isn't now, but it
Ah,
was when I first started, and I fought it and I resisted it. I was just like, no, this isn't happening for me, uh, because it was moments of peace, and in those moments of peace, that's when other things would start coming to flood in and fill up, and just kind of try and they'll push through everything wanted to come up.
Mhm.
Now when I meditate, I can actually calm myself. I can actually do what I want to do. But
yes.
Yes,
otherwise, thriving in chaos, I don't
exactly.
want to call it an art form, but I do want to just say that sometimes it does help people survive. So
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's necessary sometimes. But that's
Oh
why I said
yes, yes.
they get acclimatized to it. That's why I use that word acclimatized.
yeah,
You can survive but not thrive.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I've been trying to figure out how to get my phone to turn around right. There, maybe
Yeah.
that'll work.
Yeah.
It because I'm using my computer and phone at the same time. So
Oh,
Ah,
brilliant.
ah,
Brilliant. Brilliant.
yes.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah, no
So
problem. Now that
this
works.
this
That works fine. Yeah, yeah.
yes. Sometimes the chaos is, of course, most of the time it is necessary. There are some situation where you actually can avoid the chaos because we ignite that. If we are part of it, we are the initiator, then of course we can say that 99% surety that it could be avoided very easily because we need to be deliberate in our reactions and responses.
yeah.
Other than that, the reminder that awareness is self-curative. This is very interesting in some situation. Yes, awareness is self-curative because once you are aware, you automatically see things in an abstract way. This is so profound exercise. If you are aware, like astrology or any other system or leverage you are using, you get some sort of awareness that this thing can be in that particular way, like chaotic in the sense. uh, Automatically when the situation will come, you will disconnect from that immediately, and you will see things. Oh yes, oh this is supposed to come. I knew that. And this is the exercise we can use to get an abstract point of view, because we are completely disconnected to that. We see that,
Mhm.
okay, yes, so things are coming up, and I knew that this is going to be chaotic. I knew that this is going to happen, but I'm also aware that how I can handle this. This is the actual perspective shifting right there, and also that disconnecting from the situation. So the way I write my newsletter is just to give some sort of awareness that whenever things will come up, you will say. That's why the mantra is for me, that mantra for this thing. Whenever the situation come, remind that mantra to yourself. Oh, what is this? So this one is going to be, when the old will go, then only the new will come. This is the mantra I'm thinking right now.
Nice.
So whenever things will come in a chaotic way, and you see that, oh, I'm losing this, oh, it's getting ruined, it's getting destroyed, and all that, and if you will remember that mantra, you will say that, oh, when the old will go or go out, then only then the new will come. So you will get relaxed immediately. Yes, okay, so something is going to come new. So that's why these mantra, these actually they are reminders. I just use a fancy term for that the mantra. These are reminders, of course. And when you remind
Nice.
yourself that in that way, in just one sentence, I'm like, okay, complete disconnect from that situation right there. So it's for
Nice.
me personally, it's a very profound exercise to disconnect for yourself, disconnect yourself from that particular situation. Don't be into that sinking boat and get out of it, and then try to save others.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You you know, I got to go back to when you were talking about being in a deliberateness and awareness of,
Yes.
okay, and that's just kind of stemming back to what I was talking about earlier about CJ. That's where my inner critic crept in, is because
Yes.
I told myself I was not being. I said, nope, you were not being deliberate and aware. And
Mhm.
that's when I started to scold myself. And so what was I doing? I was creating an internal chaos for
Yes.
safety. I was doing that for safety because it's like, what did I used to do in the past? Well, when there was chaos, I would find comfort there because it would be like, oh, it's my fault. You know, thinking that if I accepted that kind of responsibility, that it would make the situation be better. And it never did. It never did. So
So
I'm
again, this the thing is coming, sure, that I'm not enough, not good enough.
yep, yep. Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I'm very glad though that I caught it, that I didn't let it run away with me. Instead, I was like, oh, why did that pop up so quickly? Why?
Mhm.
And so the only thing I could think of was that those are probably some old patterns that are going to take a long time to
Mm.
probably to shift over and to switch, because
Yeah.
you can't take 60 some odd years of doing that and
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
then just cut it off.
Of course, of course.
Right.
Even just a
Habits.
6 month old habit is not easy to give up. Okay, it's not dependent on time. For me
Yeah,
personally, the change is coming. So instead of trying to be a good mother, you can be a good companion for with him, and
yeah,
just raise him as a thorough gentleman, as an impeccable gentleman, and say that, okay, so these are the things you need to learn, you need to change, you need to adapt, and that's it. So he will learn tools with you. So instead of just okay, change of roles, change or shifting of roles, now you can do this, of course, because you are such an inspiration for so many. You can do this with him also. I know that he's like love and all that, and he's is young too, but you can make him.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I believe that. I believe that.
Yes, you can do this.
Oh yeah, I know I can. I just, that was his first legitimate emergency room accident I've had with him in all the years I've had him.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
First ER visit, you know, I mean, he's had some scrapes and bruises before and splinters and stuff, but otherwise, by and large, I've kept him probably a little too safe. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably a little too safe, you know,
Yes.
but that's okay. You know, that's
It's
It,
okay.
okay. Be a buddy
Grandma's
now.
learning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of
grandma.
being a mother, you of course, he's a boy. He needs to go out and learn things by himself
Yeah,
and learn
yeah,
to protect himself from others. Preempting is something really profound, to learn that how to do this, and also that being appropriate when the situation are like that, and also taking care of himself.
yeah.
yeah,
This is the high time. The universe provides you an opportunity just let him know that he is responsible enough, is strong enough to deal with all these things,
Yep.
and
Wow.
just get out of this. This is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It really is. Well, and I'm just really hoping that physically wise, of course, I'm hoping that there is no surgery. I'm hoping that, there a fracture is just going to take time. Really, I
Yes.
mean, what can they do with it?
Yep. Yep. By
I
the way,
don't
was
believe
it in his wrist? You said
no
his. Oh no. Okay.
elbow. It was right up here,
Okay.
right in this bone in here.
Ah,
The bones that run up his arm right here actually jammed
yeah.
right into where it was broken before. Now, his first break,
Oh.
when he was 5, when he was placed with us, his first break was right in here, where his arm had been snapped physically backwards.
Oh. Wow.
Oh, oh,
Abuse. Yeah, that was abuse. But it didn't, the surgeon didn't get it set quite right the first time, so they had to go back in and do it again. And it took an
Wow.
extra long time for that to heal, a real long time.
Yeah.
mhm.
So when he fell straight down with his hands like this. I mean, straight
Ah.
out,
Mm.
palms on the ground,
Uh-huh.
and it pushed
Uh-huh.
pressure straight up
Oh,
into here.
oh, okay.
So that's what caused the fracture. Um,
Oh,
and because at first they were just like, we're not understanding, why is this swelling, what's going on. And then
Yeah.
they had an orthopedist look at it, which is what took extra time, and he's like, it's right here, and he showed them the fracture, and they're like, oh,
mhm.
that's an
Wow.
issue.
That's an
So
issue.
yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
so
Oh, magic. Magic.
so yes, I'm
So,
really hoping that that this is just going to take some time, some extra care and intention of keeping it wrapped, immobile for a little bit. Because I know on fractures on ankles, they've had people running around with fractures for 20 and 30 years,
yeah.
that have never really healed. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Oh,
just put up with that discomfort,
Yeah. And
uh,
broken noses. That's
Really?
very common. Very, very common. Yes. I was made aware of this by Kevin Spacey, interestingly enough. He
Really?
went on one of the
oh,
late night shows and he was saying, "Oh, you know what? I was having trouble sleeping, whatever. I forget the reasons that led to it, but typically, trouble." And then the doctor said, "Oh, well, your nose is broken." He said, "Well, they had to re-break my nose in order to get it straight because it was affecting this." And it came out in his interview that this is something very common, that people get a broken nose. They don't realize it. They just think, "Oh, it's a bloody nose," but actually your nose is broken and never quite heals right. It's very interesting.
I'll be
Yeah.
wow,
darned.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Never knew that. I'll be
Yeah.
darned.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
and then it affects your breathing obviously because your nose isn't quite straight, and the nose is very sensitive. Those passageways. Look at those things that you stick on, right, with a little spring it's sticky and it opens your. It's a tiny fraction it opens your nose, but boy, it does make a difference to your breathing. So the nasal passages are very sensitive to the size. Yeah, yeah.
I'll be darned.
Because I mean, even if you open it up like I don't know 1/32 of an inch, in terms of volume, that's it's probably a 20, 30, 40% increase in volume, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
of
my
air
God.
going in because it's a tube.
So,
Yeah, fascinating.
sure.
Yeah,
My, I think I shared with you before, I guess, because I shared this story many times. Two incident in my life where my mother actually saved me from being disabled. So the first one was when I cut my hand. It's a cut on my palm. It's like 1.5 inch long, and it was
Mhm.
very deep. And my mother refused to get stitches. She says, "No, no stitches. I don't want that." And then while it was healing, and so I was like curling up my hand, and because it was painful, but my mother used to come like every now and then and pulling my fingers like big time, stretching it backward, and
Okay.
I was screaming with pain, that, and what are you doing, and the bleeding start again and again. But she says, "No way I'm going to allow you to hold your hand like that. It is going to set like that." So she keeps stretching my skin again and again. It opens 2 3 times again, the wound, but she says no.
yeah.
Now my hand is completely recovered without stitches. And when I actually kind of broke because the cartilage was broken, I fell down in my washroom and my leg was twisted backward, completely outward. My knee was, and the
Oh.
cartilage was broken.
Oh.
And Yes, and my mother says no surgery, no way. It has to heal naturally. So she
Wow.
insists with doctors that okay, only give her some vitamins, some minerals, and some exercises. And she was applying a lot of herbal medicine on that, and she keep insisting, Beena, get up. And I was like, I cannot do this, Mama. And she says, no, you have to walk. Nobody is going to give you water. You have to come out of your room and do this for
Oh,
6 months. It was a big painful thing, but my mother refused to do that. Because of her, now I'm able to sit on floor, get up, do my exercise wearing heels and everything.
That's
Otherwise
amazing.
that
as,
would be
oh.
horrible. so
So
the
as you probably
so
gathered, Venus Mama's a bit of a weirdo.
No, I don't think she's a weirdo actually, because
Oh, I'm
I
just
believe in.
teasing. I'm just teasing her mama, but
she
I was gonna say
saved my life. She
yeah.
saved my life 2 times in that sense. So yes, his elbow is in this thing, but make him a man.
See, and I do believe in holistic and natural healing. Just letting things,
Yes.
of course, because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, really, I don't. I can count three times. 3 times CJ has been to a doctor with me. That's it. 3 times.
Excellent.
Um,
Yes.
w- one time was, oh gosh, I don't remember. Oh, maybe it was for a physical, a checkup that he had to do. Another time was, I don't remember. It was some kind of infection or something that he had on his finger. Um, and the attorney at the time, the attorney guardian ad litem, whatever, said, no, you have to take him in anytime something's wrong. Okay, fine. So we'll go see the doctor. What did they do? They gave us Band-Aids and bacitracin and said, wash it twice a day, apply this,
Wow.
come back if there's any, increase or whatever. And it's like, great. I felt embarrassed. Because I already knew I knew what they were going to say, but I had to do it because the attorney said to.
Yeah.
So, and then the third time was to the emergency room, and that was it. Otherwise, he goes to the dentist and he gets his vaccinations when he needs them. Otherwise, he doesn't, there's no need to run him to a doctor. I mean, well, I don't exactly go as often as I'm supposed to, but I am now. So,
Good, good, good. So,
I am now
medicine
just to take
is,
care of things.
is medicine is, and going to healers, medicine doctors is a fantastic exercise in appropriateness.
Yeah,
Fantastic, fantastic.
it is.
All right, a little bit of discernment here, a little bit of knowing more.
Okay.
I could train you to be a healer with a 90% success rate.
By using 2 words. Stop it, right?
Oh no. Well, maybe, but no, in a different way, right? In a different way, right? So all you've got to do is prescribe something that doesn't have any effect whatsoever, right?
Okay, drink chocolate
Right.
milk.
So
There we go.
somebody comes to you and they say, oh, okay, I've got this, I've got whatever. Okay, so then you say, well, fine, all right. All you got to do is, get the feather and you move it around counterclockwise 6 times, and you do this in the morning and in the evening. Okay, and always it's something of that nature. Right. But something that is completely non-relevant and that cannot possibly make any difference whatsoever. Right. The reason why this works is because 90% of all ailments are self-curative.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, I got a 90% chance of you recovering. And I say, well, look, there is a chance this may not work, but that's it. You got a 90% chance here. And I'll tell them that, right? Okay, off they go. 90% of the time it works. When it doesn't work, I say, well, I told you, 90% of the time it doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I just said to keep this in mind. Now, with things like fractures and breaks, it is important to understand, yes, they can also fall in that 90%, but they might not heal back exactly right. Yes.
Yeah.
So you might end up with a squiffy arm and you lose a bit of functionality, but hey, your arm healed. So, okay. So for fractures and breaks, the doctors, physical things, wounds, getting stitched up and stuff like this, they can help, but that's definitely a way to go and help. And the other part is like real diseases, when you've got stuff, diabetes, cancer, whatever. So those are, again, a different type of a logic whatsoever. So when we understand this, very important. So, if you're not sure, ask your doctor, say, doc, is what I have. Is this something that will likely heal on its own? And if they say yes, all right, fine, then thank you very much. I'll see if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because, I can't see surgery for, it's a growth plate. I mean, part of it is it's in the growth plate, and they said specifically his growth plate is not completely firmed up yet.
Yeah.
So there's still an opportunity, to me anyways, in my mind, that why would you want to do surgery on something that isn't completed yet in his body?
Exactly. So modern medicine, now we've got two other complications. Your doctor isn't paid like in China. Apparently, it used to be the system where your doctor is paid to keep you healthy, right? No, your doctor gets paid when you're unhealthy. So, of course, there's a business model involved, right? And so, yes, of course, unscrupulous doctors are going to do this, but there's a complication. Even honest, ethical doctors are also under a pressure to give extra treatment. Why? Because of insurance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
It's all connected.
exactly. So the unfortunately, because of insurance getting sued, American doctors, because getting sued is a very American thing, and like when I grew up, and I suspect with Beena too, if you talk about suing somebody, people will look at you in a very disrespectful, horrible way. I mean, you go down in everybody's estimation as a person, because that's like something that only crappy people do and horrible people at the end. So, but yeah, it's a way of life. So it's a very big deal. So unfortunately, they get a bit corrupted, So ask, what are the statistics involved and what are the odds, and they will tell you. Then you can say, fine, look, I absolve you of your responsibility here to take that extra 5% and take that out of the equation of risk. I say, I'm happy to accept this risk. And then you let them off the hook from an insurance point of view. And you can get more accurate diagnoses, in other words, right? Ask them what are the odds. Ask them what are the odds. Yeah. My father, who's a complete BMN, right? He said, yeah, my father, complete BMN, right? Total. Yeah, I mean, he's like J.R. Ewing in his psychology, even idolizes J.R. Ewing and even bought himself a Stetson hat at one point in time.
Oh, wow.
So, oh yeah. I just think J.R. is the man, right? Because that's his psychology, totally and always. He would always give the worst possible prognosis and diagnosis. Always, no matter what you came in for. You come in with a cold, you're going to die. He said, yeah. He says, well, if I cure you, right, then I'm a wonderful doctor. I've cured you from something really bad and terrible. If I don't, and you do succeed well, then I'm a good doctor because I called it and I diagnosed it properly.
Or are you there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry.
Was I breaking up?
Yeah.
Beena, do you know the story? Oh, can you hear me now? About my father giving the worst possible diagnosis and why he did so.
All right. So yeah, I caught the part up to where if he gave it if he cured you, then then he's a wonderful doctor. But then after that is when you broke off.
Oh, okay. And if he doesn't, if you end up dying, he says, well, I told you.
Oh, geez, oh, Pete.
Yeah. And either way, for the BMN, either way, he comes out ahead, right?
Either way, he's right.
I called it. Sorry, unfortunately, that's life. You can't treat everything. You know this. But either way, he looks good. Yeah. So BMN logic when it comes to medicine.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that something? Something? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, he actually was a very good doctor. Because he's not stupid either, But I mean, did he lots of money from it? Yes, but he actually did succeed in treating his patients.
Ethical, I don't know.
Yeah,
to me, it would be the
ethics. No, totally unethical. Oh, he was horrible when it came to ethics.
Yeah.
You don't see this anymore today, but back then, most doctors, or at least not most, but many of them, I should say, it wasn't uncommon, is a better way to say it, for a doctor to have their own pharmacy, right? So my father was a doctor, surgeon, dentist, and pharmacist. Had all those degrees, right? Because this is maximum money, one-stop shop. So when in the house that I grew up in, right, for the most part, he had his surgery there next door. Even after the divorce, for a while, he still had his surgery. he had this pharmacy, right? One of the rooms in that part of the building was all stocked with drugs. Can you imagine in today's world, or even when you were a kid, right? Having one of your friends have access to a whole room full of drugs. It wasn't locked or anything. Just there.
Oh, goodness.
This was never even a thought to access those drugs. Never. Not even a thought. Isn't that incredible?
I mean, I don't know if I would have. I probably would have left it alone too myself, but that's
But I mean, not even one of my friends came to me and said, "Hey, could you get me some, score me some of the," because it just wasn't part of the culture,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been blown away by it. I may have seen it as a business opportunity, but other than that, ethically, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would definitely have not gone that way for sure. But still, it's just fascinating, that. But I'm trying to make the point. The longer point is in terms of his lack of ethics. Every one of his patients always walked out with an armful of drugs. And I asked him about this one day. Understanding his love of money and selling stuff. He says, "Yeah, but there's another reason too. It's an actual legitimate reason why I can sort of get away with it." He didn't spell it out, but this was implied, and you can always hear the underlying when capital H hearing. And he said that the multiple drugs are so that they counteract the side effects of the others, and you end up with them balancing out all of the side effects. So okay, that makes sense.
Well, no, I'm really hoping that this will just be something that just takes some time to heal. They didn't exactly say what kind of fracture it was. They just said it was fractured. To me, I've only ever understood that it's either broken or it's cracked.
Right.
So, and I guess they have a whole long list of all the different kinds, but it's like,
yes,
it's either one or the other, and you either cast it and it's going to heal, or you're going to splint it and it's going to heal. So,
right.
I
So
don't.
the main part with fractures and particularly breaks is to make sure that the bones are set appropriately, right? So because if they're not, they can grow. They'll grow together, but grow disjointedly, disconnected. So this is the important part. And with fractures, it's more to prevent it from getting worse than it is to. And that's the key. With a break, it's very key, the setting, but a fracture, it's holding it so that it doesn't go inappropriate.
Right.
So,
right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I know the bone itself, I mean, it will repair itself.
Correct.
It's going to take a little time, and he's got to use the noggin to, hey, I can't do that.
There you go. There you go. It's about appropriateness, right?
Oh, there we go.
And also with breaks and fractures, it's making space for the natural healing to do its thing, right? But you've got to create that space for it. And that's important. Like if you don't set the bone for a break properly, then you're not making space for it to do its thing appropriately, right? It's going to try and do it, but inappropriately. And then you end up with your weird arm or leg or whatever. So.
See, and Beena, hers was appropriate. Her mom was being very appropriate, I think. So
he was paying attention for that to not heal inappropriately, exactly. Because like she said, she could have ended up with this weird hand, hold, claw, whatever. So yeah, she was cognizant of it.
Yes, and the surgery, knee surgery could end up, okay, you can no longer sit on floor, which is of course we do 5 times a day. We offer our prayers, and also that, okay, going on stairs will be a problem. A lot of things could be a problem for me. So she says, no, I don't want any handicap. So she is not that old right now, so you need to let her body heal itself. And also that this is I'm going to trust that. And she says, Beena, okay, eat whatever you want to. She was saying, okay, eat nuts, have milk, do this, and she was not restricting. That's the time I was helping myself to put on weight also. So she said she didn't restrict anything at all. She says your body has the ability to heal itself, so don't ever think about that I will allow anyone to do any surgery, or you will hold this hand like that. So this is actually, it was very good, and now I'm able to do anything. I can run, I can do anything that would be impossible. Impossible.
And the diet is very important here, because when your body is now, you've got something that's artificial, which is the brake, right? External.
Yeah.
It may need nutrients to fix the problem that you don't normally
Yes.
access, right? So this is important. It's
Yes.
very, very crucial understanding of how things work. Now, very cool. A bit of
So
moreness, you know, more.
she was giving me all the nuts and everything healthy. Okay, whatever you wanna eat, just
Yeah.
go and eat.
Oh, and
And it
excess
is going
of
to be.
nuttiness explains a lot.
Yes.
Excessive nuttiness. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So before I go, I have to tell you guys, Beena, you perked my ears up when you said, "Yep, you can run." Well, this woman at 61 went running on the beach a couple of
Wow.
days ago.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes, yes,
I
yes,
have
yes.
not,
I love that. I
I
love
have
that.
not run. I haven't
Yeah.
run at all since I was
I
probably in
hear
my
you.
20s.
I hear you. I hear you.
That dog.
Trust your DNA, Sher. Trust your
it-
DNA.
well, you know
Yes.
what?
TJ is going to heal and do everything perfectly.
Yes.
Well, it was interesting though. But I mean, my my spine. Okay, you know, because of course when you're the cushions in between all your vertebrae
Yes.
start to
Yes. Yes.
start to completely disappear. Well, that's happened to a
Yes.
lot of my spine. So running
Yes.
has always been out of the question for me, um, or at least so I was told. I was
Correct.
told, no, don't run because you're going to damage your spine. So I stopped running.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
other
Yes.
but
day I didn't
also
have a
that has
choice.
to do with,
But
you know,
hold on, but the
oh,
other day
sorry.
I didn't have a choice on the beach.
Ah,
When I was walking Lou, we went down to the beach, and she got really excited because they somebody fibbed to me, but they said, "Oh yeah, you know, she's been down to the beach before. We've taken her before." Apparently not the ocean beach, because
ah.
I've never seen a dog bite at the waves. She was attacking the waves because they were rushing her. So then she
Wonderful.
decided, well, this is a really
Wonderful.
cool game. I'm going to rush the waves. And that's what she
Yeah.
started doing.
Yeah.
So every time the waves would come in, she'd rush out.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, God. So then she decided she wanted to chase the pelicans and the seagulls.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wonderful.
And she's a strong dog. And to hold on to her, I had to run with her. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so here I am. I'm running in like 6 inches of water. And if you've
Yes.
never run in water before, it's hard. So I'm
Yeah.
running in water, chasing the dog. She's having the time of her life. And I'm going, Yep.
I love it. I love it. Go Lou, go Lou. Fantastic. I have seen dogs bite at the waves. Not often, but sometimes.
It's
Yes.
funny. So then that same day, I'm deciding, whatever, you know, she was still on this high energy of, oh my God, the world is wonderful. And it's like, okay, I'll indulge you. So we
Yeah.
walked 5 miles. And I thought,
Yes.
okay, if I can run in
Yes.
one day and if I can walk 5 miles in the same day,
Yeah.
why am I not doing this every day?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the next day I was in a little bit of pain. So all I did was walk slowly, but I didn't do 5 miles. And then CJ got hurt. And so today we get to go walking again, and we're going to hit 5 miles. We're going to do this. So
Oh yes.
I'm going to try
You
and
got
get this done at least every other day. I would love to do 5 miles a day, but with this heat, 98 degrees and however much humidity, it's like, no.
Yeah. Either early morning or late evening, but early morning best.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. And probably once, especially when CJ goes back to school, it's probably going to be drop him off and then go walk her at the park and then come back.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
um,
Excellent. Excellent.
Wow.
So that's our plan. You know, and that should get the rest of the weight loss and everything else going. But just because somebody, back to doctors, because the doctor told me that I
Exactly.
can't run, then
Yeah.
I stopped running.
Yeah.
Just because they said, no, you can't, you're going to die and injure your spine or, you know, become crippled.
Right.
Okay. You know,
Now,
somebody,
at that time, what was your weight situation? Because obviously, if you're carrying excess weight, the effects on the spine are disproportionate.
it was probably over 200 at that point. I'm sure of it, because I've not been below 200 probably for 15, 20 years.
So again, discernment, right?
Yeah.
He may have been saying that, but because people don't use their language properly, you're just hearing him, oh, you can't run. not you being overweight can't run. That's a different
Mm.
equation, two different things, right?
Yeah,
So he was
yeah,
probably
no, he
saying
was,
that in that context.
yeah, no, this was,
Not, oh,
they were telling me that, no, I couldn't run, that I'm supposed to be, always walking with my cane or a walker. I
oh
mean,
my goodness. Oh,
it was
wow.
horrible. And so I
Yeah.
stayed that way for
Yeah.
many, many years. And then
Yeah.
it was shortly after, I started with Miles is when I put the cane away and I decided, no, I don't need the cane. And
Right.
then, I hadn't used the walker for probably a year before that, but the cane was the last to go.
Yeah.
Excuse me for a second. You
Oh,
can
no
wait
problem.
until I'm done, please. You don't just get to decide. Okay. All right. So, now I lost my train of thought.
The
But
walker and the
anyway,
cane, setting them
yeah,
aside.
yeah. So those were put aside. And then I started, by the time I met you, I was still pretty stiff, but I was more flexible than what I was. And then recently, I've been stretching more, doing more yoga, of course, eating better, changing all the diet and everything like that. And now that I'm losing the weight regularly every week, it's getting easier to move. It's getting easier to stretch. It's getting easier to run.
Yeah.
I didn't even think twice about it. I just did.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I
Fantastic.
just thought, whatever reason all of this is happening this week, it made for a good weekend. It really opened up
Yes.
my head to think that
Yes.
I can prove to myself, or I did prove to myself, I can do anything I want to do. I can do anything that I put my mind to, and anything that I need to. Now I
Yeah.
just need to make sure that, like Beena said, that I do really believe that I am enough, so that that inner critic doesn't try to
Yeah.
creep back in.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
she's just vicious.
Yeah. 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 And
Vicious.
I have to say something that is really important here. We have
Okay.
to make peace with the fact that we are never ever going to be good enough. You say, what? Really? Seriously? Well, in the light of compared to perfection or being the universe. But
Oh, okay.
if we switch that and turn it upside down to say, well, I don't want to. Why? Because that means there's always something more to learn, and I love learning. So
Yeah.
turn it from negative into a positive, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. I do
Yeah.
like that. I can do that.
There you go. It's very simple, and that way the critic can't hold this over your head, right? You're
Yeah.
not good enough. Yeah, I know. So what?
Yeah.
It's not possible. Okay, well then that whole insult collapses, or the press of it. So I always like doing this when to understand something that's a negative. You really kind of think it through, then it can't be an issue anymore, and you make peace with it and you move on. Very powerful.
Okay.
Very, very powerful. Quick little point before you go, just a fun point, since you were talking about jogging and running.
Yeah.
For all my father's craziness, at 80, he ran marathon.
Oh, wow.
I'm using my words very particularly. Not ran
Okay.
a marathon. Well, yes, it is, but he ran marathon. In other words, he went to marathon in Greece and ran that original marathon route at 80
Mm-hmm.
years old, which is a marathon, of course, but you get to
Mm-hmm.
say he ran marathon. So for all his craziness, he was always a jogger way back when, before jogging was fashionable.
Yeah.
It's totally anomalous to me that he would be this, but he stuck with it. And like I said, he was able to run a marathon at 80. So
Oh, that's
fascinating.
cool. That's cool. I've
Yeah.
got one of my dearest friends from school. She does the same thing. She's from Greece, and she and her husband and her daughter and some of her other family members, they traveled back to Greece, and she was able to run the marathon there.
Yeah, at marathon, right?
It was a year before COVID happened, so it would have been 2019, 2018 or 19. But she did the entire thing, and she completed it. Sent all the
Wow,
pictures back.
good for her. Good for
Has
her.
plans to go back again. I think it's next year. That she's already training again for
Right,
to go
right,
back. So
right,
this will be her second one.
right. So
Um,
to run marathon, it changes the grammar, right? It's you can run a marathon at marathon, but typically if you're just running it by yourself, then it's running marathon without the.
okay, I guess I'm missing that because
Well, it's just a fun thing because
Oh,
marathon,
okay,
when you say
okay.
to run marathon, it means you're running that distance at marathon itself. The
Oh, okay.
location, it's a town or maybe a city now called the Marathon, and it's from, I forget where the other point is, right? But it's this route in Greece where the original marathon comes from. So
Yes,
it's just one of those fun
exactly.
things that you can play with the grammar a little bit to say I
Oh,
ran.
okay,
When
okay.
you say
Yeah.
I ran marathon as opposed to I ran a marathon, two different meanings. Yeah.
Ah, I get
Yeah.
it. Okay, I
Just
get it.
fun, just
Sorry, a
just
little
fun,
slow.
nuance. Fun stuff. So your friend can say that I ran marathon, right?
Yes, yes, she can.
Yeah,
She can, and
that's
she
very
has
cool.
all the
That's very
pictures and the ribbons and
cool. Yeah,
everything to prove it.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
for people who do jogging and long distance running, especially, it's like a feather in your cap to say I ran marathon. It's like a big deal, Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You did the original. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Okay,
Very cool.
I've got
Wonderful,
I've
Wow.
got
wonderful.
it
I look
too.
forward to hearing more adventures of you and Lou on the beach and wherever. So look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
But I'm gonna see them too. I gotta go check on my car. They haven't called me yet. It's starting to get me a little concerned. So
Yeah, and CJ needs attention too. So okay.
yes, he does.
Oh.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yes.
Talk to
Okay.
you soon.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye for
bye.
now, Sher. Bye for now.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love
Yes.
it. Love it. Very cool. All right. So, big meeting. Just